Gina Carano, Jesse Smollett, Superman's Dean Cain, and the WNBA at it again. You're live with the guy Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Before we get into it, let's say hi to my producer, Nat.
Hello.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about the video you posted the other day about Sydney Sweeney controversy?
Well, I didn't see a lot of discussion around the controversy regarding where a lot of this crazy rhetoric was coming from, equating a pretty innocent ad with horrible things. So I wanted to explain it. It's live on the channel now.
Well, yeah, it's a very analytical approach. So a lot of people are really going surface level. She went a lot deeper, and the Sydney Sweeney thing is coming up again and again. She's in a couple of new ads. So I'm expecting this controversy to kind of snowball. And because she's getting so much attention with this, I think she'll use this to kind of launch her career into the stratosphere.
Gina Carano, not me.
Not Gina Carano, Sydney
Sweeney, not me.
Well, hopefully you launch your career into the stratosphere too. We're picking up a little bit of traction. So if you're not subscribed yet, please do so. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers and eventually 1,000. If we can get to 1,000, we'll be monetized. Okay, let's get right into Gina Carano here. And I actually have a couple stories about Gina. This is big news. It kind of broke yesterday, the day before that. So let's read the headline and get into it.
Gina Carano, Disney settle legal dispute over Mandalorian firing. We look forward to identifying opportunities to work together in the future.
Yeah, and this is a great opportunity for Disney, actually. They didn't want the discovery to happen in this case. It would have had an impact on a lot of other legal cases, and it would have shown the dark side of Disney. That being said, now that they have settled with her, they had her sign a contract, so the details of this deal is not really going to come out. I think that's really the best way Disney can go. But Disney needs to make a cultural shift, and they could do it through Gina. They need to rehab that relationship. They're going to have to pay her top dollar to do so, and they're going to have to give her premium roles. But it's going to do more than just put a good actress or a good celebrity in a movie. It really signals to the general public they're making a cultural shift away from the mistakes of the past. Okay, let's read a little bit more of this thing.
Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company have reached a mutual agreement in their legal dispute with Gina Carano following her firing from The Mandalorian. A Lucasfilm spokesperson said in a statement provided to Variety, the Walt Disney Company and Lucasfilm are pleased to announce that we have reached an agreement with Gina Carano to resolve the issues in her pending lawsuit against the companies. Ms. Carano was always well respected by her directors, co-directors, and staff. She worked hard to perfect her craft while treating her colleagues with kindness and respect. With this lawsuit concluded, we look forward to identifying opportunities to work together with Ms. Carano in the near future.
Okay, and let's kind of pause it there. This kind of spiraled out of control from Disney. Different actors, actresses, producers, directors that directly work for Disney that had political progressive leanings were making crazy statements, which were constantly being brought into this lawsuit. And as this lawsuit went on, it was looking worse and worse for Disney. That also being said, we have to remember she didn't fund this thing on her own. Any single actor or actress, it would be extremely hard for them to stand up to the corporate conglomerate and their lawyers of Disney. She was completely funded by Elon Musk. Elon Musk was actually funding other lawsuits against Disney as well. When him and Nelson Peltz were going after a hostile takeover of Disney, that's when a lot of these lawsuits got launched, and he had agreed to pay for top lawyers for Gina Carano. That being said, this must have been a pretty penny of a settlement, because I really thought they were going to take it to the end. I thought this was less about money, especially once Elon Musk got involved. I really thought they wanted the discovery of this case. So my guess would be that this was either in the tens or possibly even hundreds of millions of dollars in a settlement. Okay, why don't we go into the next part of this story?
So Carano was fired from The Mandalorian in 2021 after sharing several controversial social media posts, including one that compared being a Republican to being Jewish during the Holocaust.
Well, and this was not anything political, and she did it in a very sensitive way. The fact that we were able to twist this, it was because she was a target of the progressive hate mob and they wanted her cancellation. She also said beep boop bop, and those are her pronouns. I thought it was hilarious. A lot of other people did too. The progressives with this like Sydney Sweeney campaign are getting ultra sensitive, but when she said beep bop boop, that wasn't okay. Why don't we kind of go on to the second article, because I do have a secondary article here, and it's about how she power slammed Disney and took the right approach here.
From Deadline, this is really the way Gina Carano pile drives Disney over Mandalorian firing with settlement and job offers.
Okay, let's go into this thing.
Ahead of a September trial date, Disney and Gina Carano have put down their lightsabers over the former MMA fighter's more than year-long discrimination lawsuit over her 2021 firing from The Mandalorian over political postings. In a joint filing today in federal court, the ex-Star Wars star and the Bob Iger-run conglomerate asked for the Elon Musk-backed legal action to be dismissed, with the company clearly on bended knee. Pursuant to...
Okay, let's skip ahead a little bit.
Okay. A judge will have to sign off the request, but this is de facto done and dusted in a galaxy far, far away, and here at home with a distinct win for the openly conservative Carano. While no specific details on the settlement have been revealed, like whether she's getting her Rebel Shock Trooper Cara Dune role back as desired, or if any of the millions in damages she was seeking, Disney and Carano clearly are back to business. To that, a source close to Carano told me she is happy with how things were dealt with. Online earlier today, a deft Carano posted a somewhat cryptically at the time with a scattering of emojis, and the truth shall set you free.
Yeah, a good direction to go right here would, because there's so much backlash and animosity against Kathleen Kennedy and Star Wars, this is really an opportunity to kind of reset this IP, potentially using George Lucas's rated R scripts, potentially even bringing Ryan Reynolds in, who has expressed interest. He wants to do a rated R Star Wars film. You bring Gina Carano in there with kind of a cultural shift, a different way to film Star Wars and make it appeal to adults, get the adult audience on board first, and then spin other IPs off of that for kids. Okay, let's continue to go just a little bit, and then we'll go on to the next part of this.
It says, boom, that's a very different tone from last year when Disney insisted, as it had before, that the ex-martial arts fighter lost her high-profile Star Wars series 4 years ago because of her decision to publicly trivialize the Holocaust by comparing criticism of political conservatives to the annihilation of millions of Jewish people, notably not thousands, was the final straw for Disney. Or how on February 21st, 2021, just after the second season of Carano co-starring The Mandalorian was over on Disney+, Lucasfilm put out a piercing public showdown on its relationship with the actress. Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable.
Yeah, the best way to do this is to try to reset the Star Wars IP off of her, going rated R, bring in George Lucas's ideas, Ryan Reynolds, and then bring her into maybe a major cartoon character to voice that, and then bring her into different IPs. This would definitely help the general public understand Disney is trying to go away from the transgressions of their past and reset in a new cultural direction. Also, while we're on the subject of Gina Carano, maybe I would like to mention Ronda Rousey as well. As a lot of you may or may not know, Gina Carano actually got her start in MMA. I used to teach jiu-jitsu, so I've known her long before she was a movie star. That being said, Ronda Rousey is talking about a comeback. She didn't mention Gina Carano. She actually talked about fighting for the UFC championship. I think it would be a much better match for Ronda Rousey, who has had a few kids and is getting on in age and has been retired for a long time, to match up against Gina Carano, who is also getting on in age. It would be a perfect matchup. The UFC White House event will be coming up. That would be a perfect card to kind of either headline or be high up on the card. It would make spectacular headlines. It would bring not only men to watch the UFC, but it is a good women's fight, and I think it would spark a lot of interest with women as well. It's the kind of fight that can go beyond just fight fans and go into the real larger cultural zeitgeist. Okay, why don't we get into Jesse Smollett? And I was surprised when I seen this headline. Culture Casino actually did a story on this, and I thought we would kind of cover it here. If you don't remember who Jesse Smollett is, he's the one that did the Trump hoax, put a fake noose around his neck, said he was mugged by Trump attackers in Make America Great hats. That wasn't the case. It was two black guys he had known that he paid to assault him on the street and then called the cops kind of on himself. And the whole thing kind of unraveled when there was security footage and things of this nature. This happened in Chicago. He was never held accountable for this. And a lot of people are disappointed about that. The fact that he's able to make a comeback, it's because he was so allegiant to the progressive ideology of Hollywood. He is calling in favors at this point.
From The Hollywood Reporter, Jesse Smollett returns to Fox as part of Special Forces cast. Olympic gold medalist Sean Johnson East, Real Housewife Teresa Giudice, and Sisters Wives star Cody Brown are also taking part in the competition series.
I mean, this is a double whammy. This guy should not be coming back into Hollywood. But number two, this is more of I would say, a conservative or traditional role. He's playing a special forces military operative, and he is anything but that. This was a huge risk. I mean, you cast this guy in anything, there's a potential big backlash. This is obviously not one of the main roles, but if this continues to snowball in independent media, it could create a backlash, not only for the series, but for Smollett himself.
I think it's a reality TV competition style thing.
Oh,
where
it's
they
a reality
pit
TV
celebrities against other celebrities.
Oh, I didn't know that. Did you just read that?
Yeah.
I think I had some talking points in my head already. As for
because they might want to see him downfall. If it is a competition, then it's fun to see him lose.
Yeah, I mean, this
others.
could go well for him, actually. Not for him, but for the TV show itself, trying to capitalize off him. I don't see a TV show actually casting him, but yeah, that's pretty interesting. Let's read a little bit more. I don't know how I just missed that.
So more than 6 years.
I think the dog's on a chew toy right now, and it's distracting me.
More than 6 years after leaving Fox's empire amid an uproar over an allegedly staged attack, not allegedly, a staged attack, Jesse Smollett is returning to the network. Smollett will be part of the network's competition show, Special Forces World's Toughest Test, in the fall. The actor and singer is one of 18 celebrities, quote unquote, taking on a series of challenges that mirror those of Special Military Forces training. The season's other contestants are Cody Brown from TLC's Sister Wives, Brittany Cartwright from The Valley, Randall Cobb, a former NFL player, Aaron Decker, former NFL player.
Well, yeah, I mean,
a bunch of NFL
you
players.
put this guy against an NFL player and you're going to set him up for a loss. People are going to want to see that. You put that into the trailer of the commercial. It could be good. I just seen Special Forces. I seen him with the picture. I thought it was an actual series. So this is surprising. Will I watch it? No. Will I watch a clip on YouTube or X? Definitely.
And there's a lot of other kind of not really well-liked celebrities, I would say, like Teresa Giudice and Gia Giudice. Also, Chanel Iman, she would be going to be interesting. Obviously, Cody Brown from Sister Wives.
Oh, God. Who's the guy that took it?
Well
Who's the guy that took the knee in the NFL again?
Oh, no, he's not in this.
What's his name?
I forget.
Oh, God. He would have been perfect for this. Him against Smollett.
What's his name?
I can't remember, but let's keep moving on here because I got quite a few stories today.
Okay.
And the next one is about the former Superman, Dean Cain, and he played Superman in the long-running TV series. I remember him because he was the Superman when I was growing up on TV when they weren't really making Superman movies.
From The Guardian, former Superman actor Dean Cain reveals he's becoming an ICE agent to support Trump's mass deportation agenda.
Yeah, and this was interesting because ICE is making major hirings right now. I was watching some of their ad campaigns. There are no age limits for ICE agents they want to hire. They're making the first push of hiring 10,000 ICE agents. I believe Dean Cain is fairly conservative, and that's why he was kind of blacklisted from Hollywood. With the cultural shift happening in Hollywood, you would expect Dean Cain to maybe make a comeback, but he's been out of the spotlight for so long and he is getting on in age. So he does need to make headlines. This would be great. He becomes an ICE agent for a year or two. Then he has a level of authenticity with the basic new culture that's kind of taking over Hollywood, and he can come back into acting with roles of like the head of the CIA. You can see him as an FBI agent, and people would believe him in that role because he's actually trying to become a real ICE agent at this point.
But given that he's older and they're apparently hiring anybody that will walk in, is that safe for both people and them?
Well, it's completely safe. They're going to make hiring ICE agents. The majority of ICE agents aren't actually on the ground making arrests. A lot of them are behind the scenes. Somebody like him, this would be great PR for ICE as well because he used to play Superman, and then they would definitely want to get him placed in high profile roles so they can kind of promote ICE as a whole. So yeah, I would definitely see him as a supervisor or an office job. I don't think he would be on the front lines. If he was, it would be for the photo op, much like Kristi Noem is there for the photo op with all of her makeup and her hair, which is a little bit ridiculous, but it also not the worst thing in the world.
Thanks, Barbie.
Okay,
the actor will be sworn in ASAP amid the federal agency's recruitment drive and unprecedented immigration raids that have sparked protests across the U.S. The former Superman actor Dean Cain has announced he will sign up to join U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement in order to support Donald Trump's anti-immigration agenda. The federal law enforcement agency has aggressively ramped up immigration raids since Trump's return to the White House, blah, blah, blah. Speaking on Fox News on Wednesday night, Cain told host Jesse Waters that he decided to join ICE after sharing one of their recruitment videos on his Instagram account on Tuesday, which Waters had spoken about on his show. I'm actually a sworn deputy chief and a reserve police officer. I wasn't part of ICE, but once I was put out there and you put a little blurb on your show, it went crazy, Cain told Waters on Wednesday. So now I've spoken with some officials over at ICE and I will be sworn in as an ICE agent ASAP.
Yeah, and much like Steven Seagal became a police officer, this is really for publicity. This will be good for his career, and I think he will make the transition back into acting. He may even keep a role within ICE that is very minimal while he does acting roles. This could be a crossover for not only Dean, but for ICE to get into the general public's eye. I was also going to say, because they have no age requirement on ICE agents and they are making big hires, I'm sure they're going to hire a lot of people that can spotlight their stories, like young Latinos, like older people that are maybe coming out of retirement that are patriotic. They're going to hire people that can talk to different demographics within the general public to kind of rebrand ICE as doing something that's patriotic and can help the American citizens. We know how hard the progressive left is going after ICE. So this hiring opportunity is not just to hire ICE agents and enforce the law. It's also a huge PR opportunity. I don't expect Dean Cain to be the only actor hired, and I don't expect Dean Cain to be the only hire made to kind of bridge the gap between the general public. It doesn't necessarily have to be an actor. You can get people in other fields to kind of make a career shift and spotlight that story to the American public.
And also, when asked what inspired him to join, he said this country was built on patriots stepping up, whether it was popular or not, and doing the right thing. I truly believe this is the right thing. So yes, going after that patriotic, inspirational.
And why don't we read the next story kind of lightly? This was a really funny story, and I think the WNBA kind of brought this on themselves. I did highlight the initial incident of this if you're a regular watcher of the show when they threw the toy onto the court.
WNBA adult toy controversy explained. Why are they being thrown on court at games?
So yeah, if you don't remember, adult toys are starting to be thrown on the court at games. When the first incident happened, I said this is definitely going to continue to happen. The WNBA is doing everything to bring backlash onto themselves. They're saying they're not getting paid enough. The way other sports are paid are revenue sharing. The WNBA loses millions and millions of dollars every year. So if they wanted to do revenue sharing, they would actually have to pay to play. So the fact that they're getting paid as much as they are, like, they should shut up about how much they're getting paid. They're threatening to go on strike, which is also crazy because of their pay. The fact that when this first happened and this got thrown on the court, I said this would become a regular thing, much like in hockey when all the hats get thrown on to the ice when one player scores 3 goals. I said this would become a meme within the WNBA. It's becoming much more than just a meme. It's going into the betting markets. And before we go on, I will say the original person that threw the toy onto the court was arrested in Phoenix recently. And I'm guessing it would probably be classified as some kind of hate crime law. Who knows?
Nobody knows when the next adult toy might come flying onto the court. This is the lingering problem with the whodunit the WNBA never wanted to have to solve, but must for the sake of the players. It's a not suitable for work case with plenty of fallout for a league that is already dealing with CBA negotiations and possible shutdown alongside its growing popularity. What initially inspired mostly jokes and laughter has turned into claims of misogyny, conspiracy theories, multiple law enforcement investigations, and of course, adult toys being thrown onto or toward the court, as many as 5 WNBA games over the past 10 days.
Okay, stop real quick. Okay, I was trying to see how loud the dog's toy was because she's chewing and it is loud. I can barely hear you talk. That being said, yeah, the person was arrested, but now that this is in the betting markets, you can even bet on the color of the thing that's going to be thrown on the court and at the game. There are multiple different bets being taken on betting platforms right now. You could even go to a game, buy a ticket, sneak one of these things in, throw it on the court, and win your own bet, which is crazy. They are searching for these things at WNBA games, and they are ejecting people that do this or try to sneak them in. They already have a limited fan base. This is probably having a surge of fans either watching or coming to the game. The fact that they're going to throw these people out, they're only hurting potential new fans.
So why are adult toys being thrown on the court at WNBA
I take
games?
this with a grain of salt because this is mainstream media's opinion.
Yes, from USA
They're
Today.
mocking these girls because it's really a joke.
Cryptocurrency meme coin creators say they are responsible for the adult toys being thrown at multiple WNBA games, and they are planning more pranks. A group of crypto enthusiasts and traders launched Green Adult Toy Coin, or DILDO, a meme coin intended to be a lighthearted and perceived as a joke, in late July to protest what they describe as toxic environment in the crypto world. According to today's
Let's just stop there. That's a bunch of crap. That's not how this started. There was a ton of articles when I looked for this article saying what a travesty this is. This is the most publicity the WNBA has had in a long time. They need to lean into it, not lean away. When South Park was making jokes about Donald Trump, he leaned away from it, which was a bad idea. They also made fun of Charlie Kirk, and he used Cartman's image on his social media and leaned into it. That's what the WNBA should be doing here. That's the easiest way to go beyond this, is just to kind of lean into it and things like that. Maybe even sell merchandise about it. The problem here is the WNBA is extremely unexciting in every possible thing they could do to make it more exciting, like lower the hoops so the women could dunk. That would make it extremely exciting. Make the ball smaller so, again, it's easier to dunk so the girls can palm the ball when they want to dunk it. But the girls are saying, no, we want to be treated as equals to the men. Yeah, you're being treated as an equal to the men with the same size hoop, but you can't dunk on it, so nobody wants to watch you. Okay, let's go into the next article with this.
Okay.
I just wanted to kind of bring that up to highlight what was going on with it, because we did show the original video of that the other day.
From The Hollywood Reporter, Halloween Horror Nights, Inside Fallout, Terrifier, Five Nights at Freddy's, Friday the 13th, and more scare houses. Creative leads for this year's Hollywood and Orlando events tease what to expect out of some of this year's most anticipated horror productions.
Yeah, and I absolutely love Halloween. My birthday is right around that time, so I've always loved Halloween. It's a very fun holiday, and this is the thing that Universal has over Disney. They have all these great IPs, and it's more of an adult-oriented theme park when they want to do that, so they can really lean into the Halloween season. I think they should be leaning into their horror IPs even more, making even more of them, because they're in a direct competition with Disney, and this is something Disney just can't do. And even if they do want to do it, they're not going to be able to do it well because they're focused too much on children.
And I do love like the season of Halloween, at least, because it's more like fall. Although now here in Mexico City, the seasons don't really change. It's either raining or not raining. But when we lived back in Vancouver, like the leaves changing and pumpkin spice, because I'm basic.
I absolutely love it. The issue was, this was maybe 3 weeks ago. I was at Walmart here in Mexico City, and the Halloween merchandise was already out, which is crazy. This was months away at the time, and it's still over a month away now. So the fact that they're having Halloween decorations already out and they're trying to sell this stuff, that's a little bit too much for me, but I do love Halloween overall, and it's a chance to highlight their horror IPs. You don't just have to do this at Halloween. Obviously, that's the annual promotion you can do, but horror is good any time of the year. This is a definite strength of Universal.
Each year, Universal Orlando Resort and Universal Studios Hollywood's Halloween Horror Nights pushes the limit on what a seasonal after-hours event can be.
And 1 second here. They did have competition. The original park to bring this in, I believe, was Knott's Berry Farm in California. I used to live right next to Knott's Berry Farm, as well as really close to Disney. And this was one time of year Knott's Berry Farm was able to shine over Disney. I recently looked at the top 10 theme parks in the United States. Knott's Berry Farm didn't even make the list, but at Halloween, I would say they were at one time probably the number one theme park because they invented the House of Horrors and things of this nature.
For Mike, well, they didn't invent it, but they popularized it. For Mike Aiello, Senior Director of Creative Development at Universal Orlando Resort, this year is about ramping up the scares across the park while also introducing new event experiences like roving zombie car hops and a DJ dance area. There's always something for everybody at the event, but I think it's most true this year with the diversity of content from IP and original house ideas and the connective tissue, which is our Scare Zone program. This year has evolved into something I think everyone's going to like as a creative entity.
Yeah, and this is great because they own the IPs. Somewhere like Knott's Berry Farm doesn't own any movie IPs of these huge iconic horror characters. Universal does. And this is really a time to highlight them and puts their theme park above every other carnival, every other park that is trying to do the same thing. They do have some of the best horror IPs. I love this idea. They should lean into it more, and more.
And I think they also plan for about, like 6 or a year in advance to do them. And there's details and little like things that people that go over and over again can find. Like, I think it's very well planned and well designed just all around as an experience. And Disney doesn't really have anything to match that. They have Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, but even with that name,
well,
like,
but it's not
scary.
even Disney. They're in direct competition with Disney, and they blow them away in this area. But the thing is, every other studio they blow away because there's no other studio but Disney that have these theme parks that can really lean into this. Universal is in a very special place with their horror IPs, especially at Halloween. They should do it a month leading up to it. They should even do one-off days throughout the year.
And I think they have kind of started doing that by doing the whole at Epic Universe. They have their little what's it called, Dark Universe. So they actually did lean into at least their most classic IPs after realizing the success of Halloween Horror Nights, and they put that in there like as a permanent feature. It's not as scary, obviously, because little kids go more frequently than Halloween Horror Nights. But I think also like Six Flags has an opportunity and has tried to also lean into horror, and Knott's Berry Farms.
But they don't have the IP.
They don't have the IP, and Universal just made it into this giant universe that happens for about 2 months a year that people look forward to and fly to either Orlando or Hollywood too. So
Well, and then the amount of specialty merchandise you're going to sell at this time, from toys to costumes and everything else. This is a market that's hot at that time of the year. You see these pop-up Halloween stores for costumes popping up everywhere. This is a very unique way for Universal to sell a lot of their merchandise.
And not only that, but also bring out old IPs that they usually like, dusting off old IPs and being able to still capitalize and use them.
Keeping them new again and really having that nostalgia of old IPs. It's sometimes hard to keep the nostalgia of an IP around, but every year, if you have this opportunity, it's very easy to keep the nostalgia of an IP around.
And get people also excited for, what houses are going to be here for at least half the year, just speculating about what's going to happen. And I do like that they put little like jokes into like who created the houses and who decorated what, and there's different decorating teams that have competitions against each other.
Yeah, and I would even say like cast bigger names in horror films. So when this time of year does come up, you can bring that star around for one-offs or autograph signings and things like this. Very often people that are in horror films, these are low budget and they don't have big actors. An actor would be something you can bring around on an annual basis that's very cheap to do for a day or two, but will make headlines.
And I'd say they're doing also something similar to what Disney used to do, where they connect all the IPs and all the houses and to stuff that happened last year that if you are a recurring guest, you would remember seeing in other houses. And I think leaning into that hidden details and acknowledging the fans and the people that have been there for years and years and years is something Disney has completely forgotten to do.
Oh, yeah.
And Universal has taken advantage of that.
Okay, let's go into this next story. And I didn't read the whole story, but I did want to see what the new direction of Paramount was because his kids are starting to take over. I believe his daughters have made a lot of bad moves and lost a lot of money, but I believe this is his son, and I believe he has made good moves overall. And I think this is an interview discussing what he thinks the future is.
From Deadline, David Ellison offers first look at plans for new Paramount. David Ellison formally introduced himself to the industry and Wall Street as chairman and CEO of the new Paramount in a letter posted as the deal closed that outlined what the new team will focus on and some of its plans. The company will operate with 3 divisions: studios, direct-to-consumer, and TV media. He touched on a thoughtful use of AI integrated across businesses, on supercharging streaming, spending on premium exclusive content, focusing on sports, and investing in media networks appropriately based on the future business opportunities.
Yeah, and sports and live sports is huge, so they should definitely be trying to go into that. But there are bidding wars on all kinds of sports properties, even not so big sports right now. That being said, this is going to be a theme in a couple other articles today about using AI very gingerly and just working it in to speed up the workflow. I do think that's the best way to bring AI in the beginning, especially to get the general public kind of used to it. They're already used to special effects, so if you can do those special effects on the cheap and quicker with AI, maybe even better. That is the best way to kind of bring it in. I know some other studios are going full-fledged with saying audiences are going to be able to use their IPs to make complete series, which that's a lot more risky and it's a lot more complicated. And if it fails, though, that's like $1 billion investment or a very large investment in the least. I think letting other people make that big dollar risk in the beginning and just use AI gradually is the best idea.
So the merger of Skydance Media with Paramount Global formally closed this morning after more than a year. Shares of the company will start trading today under the ticker PSKY. Technology is not and never will be a replacement for human creativity. Rather, it serves as a powerful multiplier, from virtual production stages that unleash filmmakers' limitless imaginations to AI-assisted localization that brings shows to new language markets overnight, to a proprietary ad tech stack that maximizes yield across streaming and linear platforms. We will thoughtfully integrate these tools into every aspect of our work.
And I really think that is the best way to use it in the beginning, to really invest a lot of money in that particular thing of bringing movies into other languages where the mouth moves exactly, and even the voice can be AI used, so it's the original actor's voice but in a different language, is going to really help sell movies into new markets, especially for really big budget movies. To have it in your own language is going to be huge for audiences, especially in theaters.
In the TV media side, our challenge is to reinvent our portfolio of brands for a nonlinear world. We plan to invest appropriately based on the future business opportunity, thereby maximizing cash flow so we can reinvest in our growth business. No area will be more pivotal to our future than the evolution of our streaming services, which we will scale into powerful, profitable global platforms. We are committed to increasing investment in premium, exclusive content because we understand
that's pretty good. AI and streaming are going to be the way of the future, and they kind of go hand in hand with adapting to different languages and adapting new materials and even bringing the audience into the creation process.
And I also think a lot of streaming platforms, especially lately, have continued the talks of piracy, which is starting to get bigger and bigger again after they were able to avoid it through streaming. But because streaming platforms are so many and they each charge you to watch specific individual things other than bundling, like the stuff that Disney was trying and some other platforms have tried. People are just getting tired of having to pay extra to watch one thing on another platform and then cancel it and then they forget.
I would say, yeah, you're right. In a way, that's going to motivate people into piracy, but I don't think that's enough on its own. I really think the re-rise of piracy, and I do think it is going to be huge, is really the censorship governments are bringing in, especially like the UK government. We have talked about this with video games and other multimedia. They don't want subject matters to be brought into certain countries. They're going to use AI to cut this out. People are going to want to watch content from other countries, and they're trying to ban VPNs. On top of this is going to make people really crave different forms of piracy because the government is kind of censoring IPs and studios, video game companies, things of this nature. So that's going to be the initial rise of piracy technology, and then that piracy technology is going to be brought over because people don't want to sign up for all these different platforms because it costs so much. So I think they really go hand in hand, and it's kind of the perfect rise for piracy right now with censorship and how much all these different streaming services are charging. Now, something that will help out is the consolidation of streaming networks, and I think that's starting to happen. You're seeing some movie studios really fall and other studios come in to buy them up off the cheap. Okay, let's go into Batman 2 here.
From The Hollywood Reporter, the Batman 2 to shoot in spring, James Gunn writing the next movie in Super Family. A letter to Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders on Thursday said that Superman director Gunn is working on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, Clayface, and the next Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it sounds like they're, what's the DC universe's? Not the Avengers, but they have their own thing. The Justice League. Yeah. So it sounds like they're trying to get ready for the Justice League. They do need to make individually strong properties here in order to do that. I don't think they're going to do it with Robert Pattinson, and I think he's scheduled to play in the next Batman. There is big talk that eventually Henry Cavill, why don't you say it for me?
Henry Cavill
will take over that property, and if he does, that is going to be huge. I'm not sure if Amazon also owns the rights to making a Batman because it's rumored that he may play in 3 different Batman movies for Amazon. So I know that's been coming up a lot on social media, but I don't know if that's legitimized news. So we won't go too much into it, but I think they need to get away from Pattinson. Like the Superman movie that just came out wasn't bad, but it wasn't spectacular, and it's not putting DC on the map like they kind of need to. With Pattinson, Batman's going to do the same. It's going to kind of be blah. With Henry Cavill, you could have a chance to really put Batman on the map. And between Batman and Superman are the 2 big IPs for DC, and they need one of them to hit hard.
And with all these new properties that they're saying that they're working on, I think they have a great opportunity to outdo Marvel at their own game by making each property very interested, not as connected, standalone, individual, interesting story, interesting casting, or good casting at least. So
I'm really a fan of making extremely good individual movies, maybe that even have completely different feels like they did with the Joker being a remake of Taxi Driver. A lot of people from this generation hadn't seen that, but make in each individual movie extremely good as a movie and not as a comic book movie, but as a movie. Script first, director, and actor. They need those 3 things. And then on top of that, if you want to make a Justice League, even if each individual story doesn't connect to it, people will go watch it if it is a good individual movie.
Robert Pattinson's diary continues to fill up as Matt Reeves' The Batman sequel is preparing to shoot in the spring, according to Warner Brothers Discovery. Batman Part 2 will finally begin filming next year, the company said in a letter to shareholders Thursday, aiming for an October 1st, 2027 theatrical release. Reeves has completed the script in June.
And this is the thing about, what's the kid's name that I was just saying again?
Henry Cavill or Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson. He is just He's just the epitome of this new kind of masculinity they're trying to make, this non-toxic masculinity. He was in Mickey 17, which was a highly political movie, which with the cultural shift, if people remember that, it's not going to help the Batman out. On top of that, he originally came on the scene with Twilight. Like, this is not what you need as a resume for a superhero. You want Henry Cavill, who was in Superman and who is built like a superhero, basically, and who has really made the cultural and political shift in his personal life and has really curated that very well. So there won't be a backlash, but a huge acceptance of him if he is to come in as Batman. The one good thing about Henry, if he does eventually take over this series, is taking over the series from such a weak actor. Not that necessarily he's a weak actor, but weak in a superhero sense.
Like, okay. He doesn't match. He doesn't look.
Yeah,
like,
he does much.
He's this soft. He plays soft, broken, brooding,
much better in Twilight
angry.
than Batman.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because Batman is brooding, but he's not soft and artistic and etc. As Robert is.
Let's read a little bit more about this, and then we'll continue on.
Funnily enough, when I was like 16, I met Robert Pattinson at like a Twilight event. I hated Twilight. I never liked it. But a friend's dad was the one that brought the movies over, and they invited us, and none of us that were there liked Twilight. But it was funny because
he's become more feminine over the years, and the girl that was in that movie has become more masculine. She's basically become a man. She could play Batman just as good as he could. Which would not be good either. Let's just make that clear.
Why did I forget her name? I used to like her.
Kristen Stewart. How dare you?
Well, it used to be when I used to hate Donald Trump. And she was going up against him. His first DC film premiered to huge success in 2022, grossing over $770 million worldwide. For a superhero film, that's not super great. Pattinson starred in the titular role and will return to Gotham in part 2.
First of all, Batman's a very strong character, and it's a very strong IP because they've converted it to appeal to adults because it's so dark. And then you have offshoots like the Joker. So of all the IPs, this is the easiest one to make a mega hit. If they put a proper actor in there, that's the one thing they're kind of missing at this point.
He's been busy so far this year shooting other tentpole features such as Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey and Denis Villeneuve's Dune 3. So he's in two other big properties.
Well, yeah,
and I think he matches better in for both of those. I don't know if The Odyssey, but...
The Odyssey would be fine because everybody in the Odyssey and historical Greek life isn't ultra masculine. There was a lot of like LGBTQ feminist shit going on back then too. So he could fit right.
But under like a different lens and context, but yes.
Okay.
But I mean, I prefer him, who's been a star for a bit longer, than putting Pedro Pascal in everything. I do prefer Robert Pattinson.
I really think Pattinson's manufactured much like Pedro Pascal, but he's the better option from Pedro Pascal, but Hollywood just likes Pascal even more, but they're the same kind of framework. I think there's a lot less scandal going along with Pattinson, so it's going to be easier to make him that transition into masculine role, especially when you're putting that kid from Dune. What's his name?
Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah, he's even more feminine than Pattinson. Pattinson looks masculine to him. So eventually, if they keep going this feminine direction for male superheroes or male roles in general, Pattinson's going to end up looking like Henry Cavill one day.
But at least Robert Pattinson tries to be like an actor's actor, so he cares about the craft and he really investigates how to do his roles properly, which I mean is better than just putting someone up that says, oh, I'm Daddy Pascal, like me because I touch women inappropriately.
And I'm in 4 movies at a time in the theaters. Like, if you can't get enough of me, here's some more.
And I did like that Robert Pattinson always hated that he was in Twilight and that was his big break, because he, from the beginning, thought he was a very serious actor, and then he got cast in that, and every single press conference and press release about Twilight, he would say, oh, I hate this movie, I hate being in it.
That's not the way to go with that. He should have leaned into it. He could have had a career with a career trajectory of a Brad Pitt, or who else was I talking about that had a similar career trajectory, where you appeal to women first with Twilight movies, that much more romantic movies. That's how Pitt's career went in the beginning. Then he really started having cachet in Hollywood, and he was able to pick masculine roles like Fight Club and really started working out and appealing to men. So then he has a real crossover with a female and male audience, and he started picking movies in his later age, and he brought those audiences with him, like in Seven and things like that. So he could have had a career like that, but instead it's...
But I do like that he went the indie route and he actually gave voice to a lot of filmmakers that were being kind of ignored because he had that cachet.
I think Mickey 17 was a huge mistake for him.
No, but I'm thinking of like The Lighthouse and the other really dark stuff he's done.
It's kind of like, oh, that's the other actor, Johnny Depp. And I think his career path could have been something between Johnny Depp and Brad Pitt, but it went off in a political direction at times, and that's kind of hampered it. And he's not able to play extreme masculine roles, at least not yet. If he really leans in and bulks up for a few roles, maybe he can start appealing to a male audience and maybe come out with a couple cultural statements that aren't so progressive to appeal to the different side of an audience there. So maybe it's not too late for him, but as of right now, he kind of messed up when he was going to appeal to women with Twilight by saying he hated to play those roles. And then he's not leaning into the masculine roles appropriately. And those indie films, those are probably what he's best at, but nobody's watching those.
But I think he's this stereotypically British brooding actor. He would be great in anything Jane Austen or from that era, Victorian era as well, or playing, some British aristocrat somewhere.
I would agree. He's much of a Hugh Grant without the scandal, I guess.
And more of a Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, also without the scandal.
He's not a traditional American actor that's going to have more mass appeal like a Johnny Depp or Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm. So just put him in Shakespeare.
Okay, let's get on to these other...
Let him move on.
Let's get on
From Deadline, as AMC Networks embraces AI, CEO Kristen Dolan stresses it is technology play, not IP surrender.
And this is, again, what I was kind of talking about using AI very lightly in the beginning. And it sounds like that's what a lot of these studios want to do. Then again, there's those other studios that are going hard and heavy with huge investments, which in theory is the best way to go because you're going to get your audience to make your content creation for you and then maybe make better feature films on the scripts the audiences are writing and that are already proven through view counts and things like that. But let's read what's going on here because I haven't read this article. I just read the headline, and I do like articles that kind of incorporate AI studios. What is the future of this technology with these massive studios who really do have the most to lose?
AMC Networks is fully embracing AI, most recently via partnership with startup firm Runway. But CEO Kristen Dolan says the push should be seen as a technology play rather than anything jeopardizing the company's IP or creative partners. Speaking on the company's second quarter earnings call Friday, Dolan expanded on the Runway team-up, which she said is consistent with the company's aim to put the best tools in the hands of our creatives. Dean McDermott, president of entertainment at AMC Studios, added that the company's AI practices live clearly and cleanly within the parameters established by all the guilds.
Yeah, I mean, what's going to happen here, you're going to need a lot less people to make a movie, but with all these streaming services that are around, they need much more content. So this could be a better thing. Maybe having a lot of independent studios under a major studio like they had back in the 90s would be a great idea and really let them push the boundaries creatively and forget about cancellation because once they're their own little studio under a bigger studio, maybe you can avoid cancellation with a bigger studio just by having responsibility all taken on from the creatives of that one smaller studio. AI could be a big tool in the future. I think it's going to be what direction it's going to go in right now. I mean, it's a scattershot of directions and ideas that these studios are trying to use. Most of them are trying to play it safe, but we're having a few studios put major investments in a very risky direction. Okay, let's go into Sony Pictures. And I kind of brought this article in. It was a little bit of a mundane article, but I had some talking points of the future of some other movie studios and how they may be swallowed up by Sony.
From Variety, Sony Pictures operating income jumped 76% in quarter one as television output bolsters results. Sony Pictures reported a 76% year-on-year surge in operating income to JPY 18.7 billion for the quarter ended June 30, driven by a sharp increase in series deliveries within its television productions unit, the company reported Thursday.
So yeah, Sony is one place where they're really succeeding, and this is a Japanese company, and they steered a little bit more clear of wokeness than other studios had in the past. There are big rumors Warner Brothers may be eventually bought out by Sony. That would be a huge pickup for the number of IPs that Warner Brothers does have. And it would be very interesting to see Sony's take on a lot of these things. When we remember Spider-Man, the only reason Spider-Man's still around is because Sony had the rights to it as well, and they revitalized that IP over and over by actually making good Spider-Man movies. Okay, I just wanted to kind of talk about Sony maybe taking over Warner Brothers in the future. So we can go on into the last one, which actually involves Warner Brothers here.
You skipped one. Was it on purpose?
Oh, what was the one that I skipped?
HBO Max. Password sharing.
Oh, we already covered that. I left that in by accident from Wednesday's show.
Ah, okay.
Because I just refresh all of the browsers. Okay, let's go
From Deadline, Warner Brothers targeting 12 to 14 theatrical releases annually across key labels.
Yeah, so that sounds like one theatrical release a month, and I think that has less to do with how much they're able to actually produce and more with how much do they have for the marketing budget, because that's what's really starting to determine if these movies are going to make or break. And they're only bringing big budget movies to theater, which I necessarily don't like. I would like to see smaller budget movies that are much better curated, like Godzilla Plus One, with big marketing budgets. I think they could do well, and I think the plot lines on more independent films or smaller budget films, they take much bigger risks with. That being said, marketing budgets are in the hundreds of millions of dollars now, and it's really everything that goes to theaters. It's rare that it doesn't have almost $100 million budget these days. Let's read a little bit about this.
Warner Brothers Discovery said it's targeting 12 to 14 theatrical releases annually across its 4 key labels: Warner Brothers Pictures, DC Studios, New Line Cinema, and Warner Brothers Animation, going forward as the company takes a victory lap following a super second quarter at the box office. In a letter to shareholders accompanying its latest financial results, the company, led by CEO David Zaslav, said the releases will include 1 to 2 Warner Brothers Picture tentpoles based on well-known Warner Brothers IP, 1 to 2 DC Studio films, 3 to 4 New Line Cinema releases, including horror and comedy.
And that's where I think they really have a chance to shine, is these New Line releases. If they can really curate movies that are different, original, maybe don't cost as much, but are very creative, that's where they're going to have the most chance to shine. The other ones, that's where they have the biggest opportunity to fail, is with DC.
And what I continue to say, especially with things like New Line or smaller production lines that studios have, like New Line, they have this big opportunity to get the female market back by making rom-coms, which nobody wants to do except Netflix, and they suck. So they have New Line Cinema has a great opportunity to go back into that era and attract females for IPs that they're actually interested in.
And when New Line came up, this is when directors and big actors were making their own studios that had Hollywood connections. These would be sub-studios, much like in the record industry. There's one major label that has a bunch of smaller labels. This is kind of how it used to work in the 90s. And that's why you had a lot of good movies coming out during that time that took a lot of different risks.
And then they also want to do 1 to 2 Warner Brothers Animation titles and a select number of moderately budgeted original films.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes with AI really coming up. It's going to be easier and easier to make much more content, but it's going to be much harder to market that content on a major level, meaning everything that comes into a theater is going to be a high budget release, and it's going to have huge marketing to it. With a lot of these AI releases that are going to, I think, flood the streaming space, they're going to have no marketing budget. So it's going to be really hard, and it's going to be based upon word of mouth and the independent media to make people aware of the good AI titles that are coming out.
And I think all the studios have a really good opportunity right now to go in a completely different direction and do very targeted films towards a very specific audience. So the rom-com, and then like an action hero adventure movie, and then but smaller budget, and then spy thriller but smaller budget, and have many more releases that less people are interested in, but capitalize on the market share of very different interests that people have.
Yeah, I definitely
Instead
agree.
of just wanting to make one big one, superhero, everybody likes them.
Well, and it seems to me like the world is preparing for war in every way, shape, or form with the way the economies are kind of nationalizing and becoming self-sufficient. I would expect a slew of war films to be coming out. They're going to need to be put into production and written over this next year or two. They're going to be a lot cheaper to make because of AI. So it's going to be very interesting, the amount of war films that come out, I would say around 2028, maybe even 2029. That being said, thanks for tuning in. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We do have a new video out about Sydney Sweeney. It's extremely analytical and really goes a lot in depth about that. We have it in English and on our Spanish channel. So if you are a Spanish speaker, check out our Spanish channel. It's Nat and the Guy Espanol. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. We're trying to get to 500. We're picking up a little bit of momentum. If we ever get to 1,000, then we'll be official content creators and maybe make a little bit of money.
And we'll also be able to make more content.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Okay. Until next time, adios.